Welcome to the podcast. I'm Anita Joyce. Kelly and I are here, and this is Decorating Tips and Tricks. This is episode 279, How the French Live Without Decorating. The show notes for today's episode can be found at decoratingtipsandtricks.com/279. So
Ooh la la.
I know. You know what prompted the idea for this episode? Was when we were at Round Top and we were talking to our friend Pascal.
Our new French friend who's just fabulous.
Oh my goodness, so adorable and lovely, and I just love to hear her talk. She said, and I can't say it with her voice, I'd like to. She said, the French, we don't decorate. And I said, I know. And I said, but it still turns out so beautifully fabulous all the time. And that's what everybody loves. So today's episode is not really about how to decorate in a French style, but how to decorate like the French do to look so chic, but do it effortlessly.
I'm just like, I do remember when she said that, it definitely struck me. I think I was sweating so much and the sweat was dripping down the back of my legs that I promptly walked out of the booth and got in your air-conditioned car and forgot about it. But I'm so glad you remembered that because it's so true. And when she said it, I was like, those darn Frenchies. How do they pull that off? Right? But
we looked so not French or elegant because we were just dripping sweat. It was so hot. Yeah.
I know, but she was too, and she looked pretty great.
Yeah,
maybe we looked better than we thought. I don't know. I felt pretty
You did,
sweaty.
darling.
I don't know, darling. I don't think so. But yes, those French people, those French women in particular, they are able to pull that off so well. And there's so many books. And I actually stumbled upon now, when I was looking at this topic and getting ready for it, I remembered stumbling upon this course, and I don't know who's hosting it. It's a woman who moved to Paris, and she's got a whole webinar, chapters and chapters of a webinar about how to, sort of give off the vibes of a French woman. I mean, that's so crazy, right? So it's obviously
but
very
it was about
appealing.
Decorating. I mean, it was about fashion, though, what you were
Fashion, right. But it's so appealing and it's so distinct. Everybody knows what you're talking about, and it does translate to decorating.
Right. It happens with decorating. It's the same thing. They do it with clothing and fashion, and they do it with their homes as well. I think the first tip to decorating like the French do is to embrace imperfections. And I was thinking about all of these antique pieces that I have in my house that are chipped or cracked here or there, but they have this beautiful presence. And I'm so thankful that somebody decided this is a valuable piece of history. This is my cake stand. I'm not going to throw this out because it has a chip. And they kept it. And then I bought it 200 years later, and it's amazing. So I think that's one element, is to not worry about everything being perfect. I think it's a more relaxed attitude, and it's more, it just feels better, I think. Less stressful.
Yeah, a little, to bring in another culture, a little wabi-sabi with your decorating. I think that's absolutely a hallmark of French, and maybe even, crossing borders over there in Europe. Americans tend to decorate, and when they think decorating, it's like perfection.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's exactly where it should be. And it's, perfectly aligned and tidy. And sometimes that ends up looking like you're trying too hard. I know that sometimes happens to me. What if I'm doing a shelf or something like that? If I'm doing a bigger display, sometimes it just looks a little too done. And I have to go in and sort of mess it up a little bit. You know what I'm saying? To give it some charm and give it some interest and give it that imperfection, like you're saying. That's sort of a hallmark of this type of French decorating, if you would even call it a French decorating. Can you even call it a style, I guess, even though it's a style of imperfection?
I wouldn't call it a style, but it's an approach to decorating. And it's certainly something that I've lived with. I know bloggers that spend hours and hours and hours doing the styling for a photo shoot. And I feel a little embarrassed sometimes when I'm on these blog tours to admit that I really didn't spend a lot of time on it. On the putting it together or photographing. It was like, well, I just kind of took the picture.
Well, whatever you're doing, honey, it's working. So stick with it.
Well, thanks. But it's a tone down. I don't think you have to go over the top for it to look beautiful. And I think that is kind of one of those French things, is don't try too hard. Don't make don't make it look so decorated. Kind of it's okay for it to have that imperfect look, that lived in look. And and the other part that goes with that is try not to put too much emphasis on things going together. So not too matchy. I mean, we want it to all kind of have a flow and a feeling of kind of it makes sense together. But I think if things look too matchy, too well thought out, it begins to look too
contrived.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And this is such a good, even if you know that in your head, sometimes when you're doing something, like I'll be making a vignette and it just keeps getting bigger and more stylized and, more holiday centric, or, just, it just becomes too much. And it's almost like a caricature of decorating. It's too much. And I think that happens a lot. There's sometimes things are beautiful to look at on the blogs or in Pinterest, but it's also not a way that you could actually live. And I think the way the French and the Europeans do it, French in particular, is it's all about actually living in the space. And so it's not so over the top, because you wouldn't have a giant hay bale and, 40 pumpkins stacked, right, in different size increments with perfect stems in your kitchen. You just wouldn't have that. So I think that also something that you're saying about, you don't have to have that much and all of that. But what you do have doesn't have to be expensive, but it has to be good. It has to have character.
Yes. It's interesting you say that. And speaking to what you just said and what I was just saying, I just bought these amazing antique chairs. And
oh, stop it! I mean, I wish we could just show everyone those chairs. Can you get to reveal them, because they're going to be gasp.
They're going to be. Let's see. They're going to be out on Wednesday.
Oh, they're coming out on Wednesday.
Or no, is it Wednesday? No, I'm sorry. By the time this is live, I'll link to them. They'll be out by the time this. Sorry, I've lost track of my weeks. Yes, they'll be out. And the thing about it, I've done a lot of research on these. These are antique chairs. I was thinking maybe they were from the Federal period and the American, but they're too hand painted but they've kind of squared off. I've done some research. I think they're from the French Directory time period, which is kind of right after the French Revolution.
Oh, I see. I never even knew that existed.
Well, right. It's a lesser known style. And these, I believe they're original. I'm pretty sure they are. So this is a piece of history, but here's the thing. They're squared off. They're hand painted. I put them in my breakfast room. They're kind of a sagey green with a hand painting, some red on them. My colors are really blue and white. And in my breakfast room, I have a very curvy Louis XV armoire, with dishes in it. These chairs really technically do not go at all. They're the wrong color. They're the wrong shape. But they're so amazing. I don't care. I'm putting them in there and they're going to work.
Yeah, because they're actual pieces of art, really. And your art doesn't have to all match. And so I think if you have really nice pieces, even if they didn't cost you an arm and a leg, and I know that these did not cost Anita an arm and a leg.
They were from the thrift store.
Oh, my goodness. Boy, sometimes you just get that bubbly feeling like I need to go in there now. I always heed that call. Sometimes I'm driving, past my favorite thrifty and I'm like busy and I need to go, but something will say, you should go in there. And every time I heed that call, I score. Like I can't even tell you. So I'm guessing maybe you had that feeling the other day, because I don't think you were supposed to be doing that the other day.
No, we were
very busy with the shop, and I don't know what you were doing walking around.
I was taking some dishes over there to consign.
You were giving stuff in, right?
Well, yeah, it was my mother-in-law's dishes that I was finally. It was kind of bittersweet, but I decided it was time. And then I'm like, the clouds parted and the sun shone down, and they said, we thought about you when we got these. And I'm thinking, start calling me. Why aren't you people calling me?
Exactly. Speed dial me.
I know.
Funny.
But anyway, that I think is really how you can make this work. You don't have to have expensive things. You don't have to have a lot of things. But I think the things that you do have need to be something that are really, that are things that speak to you. They don't even have to be over the top expensive or fancy, but something that's just very meaningful to you. And for example, one of the things I'm doing in Kevin's office, he left something in his office. So we stopped by on our way after lunch yesterday in his office to pick something up that he had forgotten. And when I was in his office, I said, "What's going on here?" I said, "You need a decorator." I was like, "What's going on in here?" I said,
I hope
"I
you
don't
gave
really-"
him a reduced rate. Yeah.
Yeah, I gave him a great rate. So I said, this artwork over here, I just like, I can't believe this is here. I said, it's just size wrong. I said, it's all wrong. So, my plan yesterday was to find something for his office. What did I find? I found, now they're reproductions and very inexpensive, actually. I found some reproduction vintage travel posters for France.
Oh, perfect.
To put on the wall. Is that not perfect? Kevin loves to travel, and he traveled around the world with his family when he was very young. They went to India and Australia and all these amazing places. So, and he loves kind of that vintage travel kind of feeling. So I just said, this is something that is perfect for you.
Whoa.
So it's something, so I did show him, I was going to get him something World War II memorabilia stuff, but I wasn't sure that it would be good for him to have pictures of like guns on the wall or something.
Nice. Yeah.
I know. I thought, and I don't think that's right. So I said, how about these? So he was very happy about it. But here's the thing. These are meaningful to him. He has a connection with France and he loves travel. So that is another tip, is to incorporate something from your family history into your decor. And you don't actually have to have the French, or not French. You don't have to actually have the family item, but just something meaningful to you, because I think that's the thing that's going to resonate with you. That's the thing that you're going to keep long term. And that is, I think, part of why this works, is everything has meaning. Everything has value in the room.
Right. Because instead of it, that needs to go with that. And well, I don't even really like that, but it's got the colors that we have in the sofa and blah, blah, blah. Instead of that being the glue, you're the glue. You and your family are the glue that holds those pieces together and makes them make sense together. And I think if you really follow that, you probably can't go wrong. There might be some, wing nut piece, but you know what? If you love it enough, or your husband loves it enough, you'll figure out how to make it work in there. And that is part of this whole, French, I don't want to say it's anti-decorated. They just don't seem to focus on it so much, like a decorated room, like we might.
No, and they're not buying trendy things. They're not going out and, saying, oh, well, now this is in, this is out. They have family pieces, they have new pieces, but they're not trying to keep up with other people. I think it's more what's meaningful to them. And another thing that they do that I think works quite well, and if you look on Pinterest, if you look online, you can see lots of Parisian apartments, and you'll see there's this incredible molding, high ceilings, beautiful windows, beautiful architecture, very, 200, very antique look. However, they've mixed it typically with some contemporary pieces in there. So I think that's something else also that you can do quite easily that works beautifully, is mixing contemporary with traditional, and it can blend very well in the same room.
Oh yeah. And we talk about juxtaposition of lots of things and how we love that in decorating. And there is one that's very clear. If you have that absolutely stunning old world type of structure to the home, and then you add in these clean modern pieces and lines, it's really beautiful. How can you go wrong with that? I think what we're talking about, having less and better things, just to harken back to, say, the quintessential French woman's closet, is probably not burgeoning and busting with lots of pattern and different things. They're probably, and of course this is the idealized French woman, that they're making webinars about her style, and there's, books about having this female French style, so we're talking about this idealized person. But I think that this is there's enough people over there living this way that it's, obviously people have noticed and they want to emulate it. Their closets are not busting at the seams with lots of different things. They might have a few things in some solids, but the stuff they have is really good. So it's really easy to get dressed and look really good all the time. And you can use that same principle when you're talking about your decor. If you've got really good pieces, it's just going to look really good all the time, and you don't have to keep switching it out for the latest and supposedly greatest next thing.
Yeah, I think that's right. Buy what you love, buy classic pieces, and you're going to be keeping them long term. And maybe rather than focusing on, I just can't tell you how many times I bought something because it went with my quote unquote, I'm using air quotes now, theme for the room, or it was the right color. There were so many times when I started out decorating, I kind of figured out the limited color palette pretty quickly. But I didn't really get the second part of that, which is don't buy it just because it's the right color. Because I bought so many things that were the right color. And then I thought later on, when my colors would change, I would think, well, I just bought it because it was the right color. And now I don't like it. Whereas if I had bought it because I loved it, even if it weren't the right color, I would have kept it anyway.
Oh, so true. I'm like rifling through in my mind so many things, particularly artwork, fairly inexpensive artwork. I remember buying some things from Ballard, which were very nice. And I love Ballard and they do a great job. But I really bought these, now weren't paintings, whatever they were, these, prints, but they're, the kind of thing that's painted on. So it kind of looks like a painting. And I bought these giant things and they weren't cheap, but I only bought them to go with the red couch. And I didn't really like them. And there are so many things like that, that they do not stand the test of time. So, if you want to have this sort of really fabulous French casual, imperfectly perfect thing going on, you're going to want to find things that really resonate. And if you do, they're going to stay with you for a long time and you're going to find places to use them. Don't you just love a great recommendation from a friend? Well, we're delighted to be recommending these companies and their wonderful products to you today. And let them know your friends at DTT sent you. Go ahead, clean out your closet, then head straight to Quince. I love every item Quince offers, from wardrobe to decor, and I can really recommend their Ultra Stretch Super Wide Leg Pant at $49.90. The price is unbeatable, and the look is so flattering. It keeps you in on top and flares out of the bottom. Everything feels right with Quince. The price, the quality, and the sustainability. Quince offers a range of luxury wardrobe and home goods at prices within reach. And like Quince's clothing, their home goods are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices, along with premium fabrics and finishes. Once you've cleaned out your closet and refreshed with Quince, you can also add something to your home decor. So give your wardrobe and your home the refresh it needs with Quince. Go to quince.com/DTT to get free shipping and 365-day returns on your next order. That's Quince, QUINCE.com/DTT for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/DTT. And let me know how you love those pants. Green Chef is a delicious delight any time of year, but especially during the holidays. What a wonderful vision to behold as the Green Chef boxes on your doorstep. Green Chef is the #1 meal kit for eating well. And it makes eating well so easy with plans to fit every lifestyle, whether you're keto, paleo, vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, or just looking to eat a more balanced diet. So let Green Chef take the work out of eating clean this holiday season. And if you've got guests coming, shop Green Bundles. They're now available at the Green Market. It's your one-stop shop for nutritious grab-and-go breakfasts, including vegan options, brunch kits, wholesome lunches, ready-to-eat snacks, veggie sides, and more. You can feel your best this December and do your best with Green Chef because they offset 100% of the delivery emissions as well as 100% of the plastic in every box. Go to greenchef.com/60DTT and use the code 60DTT and get 60% off plus 20% off your next 2 months. greenchef.com/60DTT and use the code 60DTT to get 60% off plus 20% off your next 2 months.
Yes. Well, the artwork is the thing I think that sometimes is really the place where people can get lost.
Yeah,
I think
there's just so much. Remember when we were doing Texas Flip and Move?
there's so much bad artwork.
Had to get some artwork, and we looked and looked, and there was just such in a certain price range, and
that's what we mean in the low price range. Yeah,
yeah, and we couldn't go buy pull something out of somebody's attic, and we couldn't say, hey, do you have any kids art you want to use? Like all these wonderful ways to have inexpensive art that's meaningful. We didn't have access to that, so we were just in these big box stores looking for art to fill wall spaces, and it was really challenging.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. You want art that is meaningful to you. And again, I'm going back to like the travel posters that I found. What about movie posters or anything else that's inexpensive, but just frame it, maybe some old letters from your parents to each other. There's so many, or kind of a shadow box of things. I have some memorabilia from some family members of their ration tickets from World War II and some other letters. And I'm thinking, wouldn't that be great to hang on the wall? I have a friend whose father was, I don't know, fighter pilot, I don't know, or something in World War II. She's got his hat and his jacket and all these things. What a cool, to me, that is so much better than just going to, fill in the blank store and buying just something cheap that's just meaningless. I think about when Kevin and I first got married, we loved to go sailing before we realized we really weren't very good at it.
It's another thing I never knew about you.
Oh, well, we just
sailing chapter. I didn't know this.
Yeah, well, we did catamarans, and somehow before the trip was over, we would always end up with our catamaran upside down. It was like it just was not. That's not the way it's supposed to happen.
Okay, Ginger Gilligan was not. You too. We're not destined for the high seas. Okay.
Yeah, that's what's called turtling your catamaran, which is what we seem to be very good at, by the way. But we went through this sailing phase, so I thought, let's decorate the office in the sailing motif, and I got one of those brass sailboat things that really was. No, it was terrible. And then a sailing. Now, again, if you're into sailing, there's probably some fabulous artwork you should have that would be great. But this was just kind of more of a phase. And I just got some artwork that was not really that special. And you guessed it, it was expensive to frame a long time ago.
Right.
It was a phase. A few years later, I was looking at the artwork with a, what were you thinking, attitude. And I gave it away.
Yeah.
Whereas if I had maybe done something a little more personal, we'd still have it.
Right. Another thing that I think the French do, and again, most Europeans are doing, and Americans are getting on the ball with this too, is reusing and recycling. And I don't mean, when you're taking your trash out, but I mean reusing and recycling decor items throughout your home. And, this can be things that were heirlooms and handed down, but it also can be just using something in a different way and shaking it up a little bit and sort of upcycling something and not being afraid to put something really old with something brand new, as we've mentioned. So keeping the sense of history, and it doesn't have to be a 200-year-old piece of furniture, or your apartment doesn't have to have molding that was put up in the 1800s. You can get this sense of history and sense of place by using things that were either passed down or that you find other places and you just use in cool ways.
Oh, I think so. And it doesn't even have to be vintage, although Kelly and I really love vintage. And I think it will add a beautiful element to your home. But I think the thing is, add some different elements. Try to find things that are meaningful to you that go beyond your particular style or phase. And I've always said this. I know people, it's not a popular thing to say, though, but that is to invest in some pieces that are meaningful to you. Because these are the ones that are going to anchor the room. These are the pieces that you're going to keep. These are the pieces that are going to give it that feeling of wow, the room looks elegant, but you didn't really, it doesn't look like you're trying. It just is.
Right, because the pieces themselves are elegant, right? And they can stand alone and they have a presence of their own. Another thing that sort of touched on before about, us maybe going a little overboard and us being, in the bloggers and decorators here and sort of American decorating is you have to really think about the way the room is going to function. And I know I talk about function a lot and that sounds kind of really boring, but hey, look, when I was doing my research for this is one of the things that they say is really the foundation of good French decor and good French, quote unquote decorating, is that it really can only happen if the space is well thought out in the way that you're going to use it and the way it's going to function, right? So you don't want to have things there that are really simply decorative. Almost everything is used for another purpose, right? So it's pretty, but it also might store something. Or, I have that chair there because I go and I use it in the afternoons to do whatever I'm doing. That's where my kids do their schoolwork or something like that. It's just not adding stuff for the sake of adding it. Everything it was going to have a purpose. And in having the purpose, it all works together. So it has this beautiful functionality. And in a way, it makes it really elegant.
Yeah, I think that's a good approach. It's really, I think, being mindful when you buy things, and then it does have that effortless feeling when you walk in the room.
Yeah, what is it about that where you can always just like you just feel it, you just see it when you see a photo of something, and lots of times it's like almost very utilitarian. Do you agree? Certainly there's the beautiful French rooms that are, decorated and the furnishings are so lovely and they're real antiques and all of that. But when you think more of like in the French countryside, something like that, like an old worn tea bowl where, maybe someone has a bread bowl or they're making lunch and it's all just spread out and it's not necessarily stylized. It's just happening. Like life is happening in a beautiful way.
I think they've used real elements, not something made to look like something else. I think that's what I think. It's right. It's not made in China as a reproduction. It's something that was probably handcrafted. You can, because it may feel like, oh, it's just this cheaper version looks the same as, and we're not talking about large amounts of money. Sometimes there's not a big price difference. I mean, you can get a well-made antique for, quite frankly, pretty close to a piece of brand new furniture that's really going to fall apart in a few years. But that is the thing. When you walk in the room, it's that beautiful piece that makes it. I think it's having a good eye to choose things that have a beautiful form for the room. I think that's a big part of it, is choosing pretty things for the room. And then you don't, again, and it's not just what you put in the room, but it's what you don't put in the room, which we've talked about before. But this is something that I think people do. The room doesn't feel quite right. And instead of kind of really analyzing to figure out what's wrong with the room, they throw stuff at it. Mm. And I've done it too. I mean, I'm not, I think we've all done this, but then it makes the problem worse.
Inevitably, with the new year come wellness goals. One very effective and easy to reach goal is to add dose to your wellness regime. Dose is expertly formulated organic wellness shots that support your liver in one delicious drink. Formulated with ingredients clinically shown to support liver health. Potent turmeric, milk thistle, and ginger. There's 0 sugar and 0 calories. Did you know that your liver performs over 500 special functions? Since I learned all that my liver is doing, I started with Dose to support all those vital functions. I take a shot of refreshing Dose 2 times per week to combat everyday toxins from food, meds, alcohol, and unhealthy air. Since starting with Dose about a month ago, I am definitely feeling an overall improvement in my health. So if you want to give Dose a shot and invest in your health like I have, Dose is offering DTT listeners 15% off your first order, plus an additional 15% off if you subscribe for a monthly delivery. That's 30% off your first order. So go to dosedaily.co/DTT and use the code DTT. That's dosedaily.co.co/DTT and use the code DTT. BritBox just keeps getting better. The new Archie is amazing. And it's not the comics. It's about Cary Grant. Archie is the brand new limited series starring Jason Isaacs as Archie Leach, the man who became Cary Grant. From the award-winning screenwriter of Philomena, Archie tells Grant's born in Britain, made in Hollywood story, the dramatic grit to glamour transformation that led him to become one of the most famous people in the world. You are going to absolutely love the acting, but also the styling, the outfits, the scenery. It's the first time his story has been told in collaboration with his daughter Jennifer Grant and ex-wife Diane Cannon. The performances from Jason Isaacs and the rest of the cast are amazing, and it's only available on BritBox. So sign up for BritBox today to stream Archie and other fan favorites from any device. And we have a special limited time offer for our U.S. and Canadian listeners. Get 50% off, yes, that's 50% off your first month when you sign up for a monthly plan. But only if you go to BritBox.com and use our promotion code DTT at checkout. You're going to love Archie. So head over right now and get 50% off your first month of BritBox. Use the promotion code DTT at BritBox.com. Oh, yeah. I've over decorated and then been like, why am I not happy with this? And then pulled back and taken things out and then been happy. You know, where you didn't expect, like you just were on this frenzy, like add more and will make it better. It doesn't.
Right. And exactly. And sometimes I just have a bad feeling about a room and I just think, oh, I don't want to deal with that now. And then finally I'll go in there and say, well, what's wrong with it? And often what I do to fix a room is take something out, not necessarily add something. Yeah. So it really does make a difference. So that editing is very critical to having this effortless elegance to a room.
Well put. Hey, so we just want to remind you that we're coming at you 2 times a week now for the podcast on Mondays and Wednesdays. And if you haven't already subscribed to our emails for Bespoke Decor, definitely head on over there to bespokedecor.store and do that. The emails are a lot of fun. And especially on Sunday, we do the Surprise Sunday where we do have a lot of really cool antique and vintage things that are one of a kind. So you want to get on the list so you can see those right away because they tend to get snapped up pretty quickly.
Oh, I had a friend call me about that blue tureen that you put on there. She said, why didn't you let me know about that? I said, well, I didn't know about it.
Yeah.
I said, because I would have grabbed it first.
I can't tell you. Yeah,
I'm as surprised as everyone else on some of that stuff. I'm like, wow, that's awesome.
That's pretty good stuff. Yeah. We've been having a lot of fun with that. But today was a lot of fun too. And I too, you just want to grab onto that. Even if you're not a Francophile, there's just I think everyone can agree there's just something pretty fabulous about the way French people can pull off a room and pull off a look. So we hope that we gave you some insights today. Anita certainly is our resident French person here. So I'm sure that she gave you some wonderful insights, and I hope I was able to add something to that. Thanks for visiting with us today. And remember, we are here to inspire you to create a beautiful home. Until next time. Hey, everybody. We want to thank you so much for listening to Decorating Tips and Tricks. And we want to make it even easier for you to listen. And it's easier if you subscribe. You just click the subscribe button on our website, www.decoratingtipsandtricks.com. Or you can subscribe through Apple Podcast or any of your favorite podcast listeners. So until next time.